Welcome to another episode of the Globally Connected Podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about surviving the first year of your startup, what founders need to know, and the common mistakes, lessons learned, and how to avoid failure. So, we're going to share our perspective for those who are interested in starting your own startup or currently have one. What does that look like? So, yeah, man, we hope you guys ready for another great episode, and we're looking forward to providing some perspective.
Yeah, guys. So, as you know, the first year of a startup is challenging. Most startups actually fail in their first year, believe it or not. Actually, about 80%. I remember Jerome, us sharing this stat with each other when we started this business
Yeah.
and talked about how we can avoid becoming one of these statistics. So, we'll run through some of the lessons that we learned with you guys and kind of how to keep your mental up when you're facing some of these challenges and how to plan out and kind of prepare yourself too. Because when you begin a startup, it's not always natural to see overnight success. And you got to kind of have that long term vision so that it reminds you to kind of keep going. Jerome, I'll start off by asking, why do you think, when we started Globally Connected Group, what do you think kept us from failing in the first year?
Yeah, I'm gonna provide that perspective, but first, for the audience, let me define what exactly a startup is for those who may not know. So, a startup is a newly found company, usually led by entrepreneurs, and is focused on developing and bringing a unique product or service to market with a high potential for rapid growth. Startup, for those who may not know. All right. So, what prevented us from not failing in year one? I would just say we stuck to the goal and we knew this was going to be a long process. I remember our very first initial meeting, which was at Panera Bread. Um, we all had a vision that we all had thought of before we even discussed this amongst one another. It was kind of like our passion. So I just think us knowing that this was going to be a long term thing and us already having experience in investing, whether it was stocks, cryptocurrency, etc., we just had the mindset of, okay, we know it's going to take a long time. We're in this together. Let's just take it one day at a time. That's my perspective. How about yourself?
Yeah, I agree with you, Jerome. I think it was that like-minded mentality and vision that we all had that kept us from not failing in our first year because we knew that okay, maybe this first year is going to be setting a lot of the groundwork. Because when we talk about first year, that's like from inception, like from even getting the name and what the business idea is and what the branding is going to be, what our vision statement is, etc. So we knew that there's going to be a lot of legwork that will be put in, and just like a plant, you got to plant the seeds, you got to water it, you got to nourish it before you actually reap the fruits. So we knew we had to stay in this for the long term and really be strategic in our first year too. We didn't rush ourselves, which I actually really enjoy about our business, because if we had rushed and we're just like, okay, we got to get this thing out there, we got to market it right now, we got to get that, then maybe it would have failed in the first year. But because we took our time with it to actually define a business model that really makes sense for us, and we made sure to get a lot of feedback from who our potential customers would be, and also partners and people that we knew to give us feedback and to let us know what they think. So I think in our first year, we were aware that like we have to talk to people, because actually one of the main reasons a lot of startups fail is because they build what they think people want instead of actually figuring out what people want. So don't be afraid in your first year to go out there and talk to people, see what they would like, get their feedback on your business idea, where they think things should change, and actually see if it's well received in the market or not before you go and put in a lot of budget into marketing and putting the idea out there.
Also, the first year, we wanted to get to know each other. We wanted to get to know on a personal level. We focused on creating that camaraderie, and then when the time came, then that's when we translated it back. Like, how do you work on a professional level, etc. What are your dislikes? What your do's and don'ts? So I just think that was the number one thing. And also, making money wasn't our goal in the first year. You know, if you guys remember back in the episode where we were discussing what is entrepreneurship, we talked about most businesses tend to fail because they think about money up front. We didn't think about that up front. So I just wanted to add those two components in.
Yeah, Jerome, that's a great reminder and a great point. Like, we really did spend a lot of time understanding each other's personalities, work ethic, business ethic, to then also go ahead and define like what we do within the business,
Yeah.
what skill sets we have, etc., and even to define our business itself as like what we can go out there and provide to people. So it is super important to like actually understand the people that you're working with. If you're a startup and you're working by yourself, this actually also applies to understanding yourself and your work ethic. Like, do you work better under pressure? Do you work better on a schedule? Do you work better like this? So, figuring out all these things. And I remember one of our really good mentors told us that he saw his business partner pretty much every day for breakfast, to talk and to understand what's going on in his life, but also to talk about the business and such. So you kind of become like siblings in this thing when you have like your business partners. You really have to understand each aspect of each other and how to work together. We'll go ahead and talk a little bit about what are some things you can do in your first year of your startup to kind of ensure that your business doesn't fail in the first year. So I'll start off with just giving a suggestion that I have. So I'd really urge business owners in the first year to try to keep your expenses low. You don't want to overspend in your first year, have this massive budget before you've even fully validated the idea. So try to keep your expenses low, make an expense sheet, and focus on the actual things that are really necessary, and then build your way up as your business is growing. So
Yeah.
for example, for us, we've done our LLC registration, like creating our website, creating our branding, etc., like, getting our hosting and things like that. So, really, the core necessities for what our business type needs to be able to run, that's what we focused on in our first year. We didn't go and say, okay, let's put in $10,000 into marketing right now. And I think that would have probably not been a smart move, because in your first year, you still need to create a solid foundation first, and then moving into the era of like making enough money to actually be able to put in more of your investment into other things like that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, we focused on, but number one, we don't have a physical location, which is smart because that would have probably put us in the red. And then two, again, like I said, we focused on the business model and just finding something that made sense. We knew we are B2B, we're not a B2C. So for those who don't understand, a B2B is a business to business. That's what we globally connected group is, and B2C is business to consumer. We don't have a service, we don't have a product, we have a service. So we just focus more so on that. We focus on our business model, getting feedback, and then that's when we translate it into, I guess, understanding our niche. And that's something also that's very important in the first year. You may not get it in the first year, but that was something we looked into doing. I will share common mistakes that those who are in the first year of a startup may experience. Number one, you may experience burnout. I don't know if you experienced burnout in the first year. I don't think I did, but I'm a workaholic. But I didn't experience burnout. So burnout is a common mistake that I think most people may experience in the first year. Lack of money, like we said before, if you don't come from an affluent background, you're gonna have to bootstrap your way to scale your business or fund it, etc. Or if you're looking for investors, that's another thing. Another common mistake is if you have a physical location, actually finding a location. That's a common mistake. Number five, I would say, is knowing which platforms or knowing just in general how to market your business. Because if you don't have the knowledge and understanding on what marketing means, then you may struggle with that. And then I would say number six is just people don't talk about this, but just knowing yourself and how you are as a startup founder. I think
Mhm.
that's probably the biggest mistake because it's so many nuances and intangibles that comes with being a startup founder that I think a lot of people aren't cognizant of. So I would say from my perspective, those are some common mistakes that I think you may experience in your first year. What do you think about that, Gigi? And what are some common mistakes that you think startup founders may experience in their first year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll piggyback off of your point with marketing. So, I think marketing is extremely important and kind of the backbone for a lot of businesses because you can have an amazing business model, you can have an amazing concept, a great product or service, but if you're not marketing it to your audience and if you are not using the channels of communication that fit your target audience, then it will be harder to get yourself out there. So, that's why, as we mentioned in the first year, it's really important to take ample amount of time to understand your customer and actually understand where they are, what they do, what their habits are, their needs, etc. That way, it can feed into your branding so that when you're messaging, when you are creating like a social media post, the messaging actually appeals to your target audience. I think it's really important in the first year to start defining your marketing strategy and um, finding the right channels. Don't be afraid to do things on your own, but if marketing is not one of your specialties, also don't be afraid to outsource this because it's really important. So focus on what your core competencies are. If there are some things that you need to outsource for the benefit of your long-term business, then do that while keeping your expenses low. So as you see, it's like a balance game, but really figure out what things can you do on your own for your business and actually be successful at them. What things do you think you really need somebody externally to come in and help with? There are so many social media channels out there. For us as a consulting company, we've primarily leveraged LinkedIn with our target audience. It's going to be mostly business owners, and we leverage like LinkedIn trade shows. We do like a lot of email outreach, LinkedIn outreach, etc. So for us, that's what makes sense with our particular target audience. For example, if you have maybe a beauty product, you might want to leverage content creation on Instagram and showcase how this product works. You might want to reach out to some influencers. So, really see what makes sense for your specific product and service and leverage your marketing in the first year.
Yeah, so what are some common mistakes though? You didn't actually dive into some common mistakes that you think first year founders will experience when running a startup.
Try to limit your spending in the first year, focus more on the idea and your target audience. Another mistake that I would say is kind of also expecting like the business will make you a lot of money in the first year so that it's okay to completely like leave everything behind and go on this journey. Though sometimes this works for some people and it all depends on, what your business is and everything. But at the end of the day, we all have bills. Be aware that maybe in the first year you won't immediately see success. So a lot of startup founders, actually a lot of really startup founders, you see that they actually had a job and then after their job at night they're over here like working on their business until it gets to a point after many sleepless nights, after many nights working like a job and working on the business, etc., then their business starts to feel like it's more of a security and a safety to actually go full in on and full on. And then sometimes too, you make a sacrifice. Like maybe you sacrifice a year of your time to just 100% focus on the business and nothing else. But make sure you're financially stable to do that because it's not guaranteed that you'll immediately make the money. So just really be able to manage your finances before you start your business.
I have a question to ask. Have you ever
Mhm.
thought about quitting?
No, honestly, no. Like, I haven't thought about quitting because for me, Globally Connected Group's like my baby, Like, it's like, it feels like it's a baby that I'm like holding. I'm not just gonna drop the baby. Like, so for me, like, I wouldn't quit because like Globally Connected Group means a lot to me and to my business partner, and I wouldn't want to let my business partner down and vice versa. Like, I believe in what we're doing. Of course, there's times where I think, okay, maybe we should pivot something. How about you, Jerome? Be honest. It won't hurt my feelings.
5% yes. And I'm not a quitter. I'm gonna tell you why. And it had nothing to do with anything internal, etc. It's because when you have the days or even the months where you aren't getting responses back from emails about doing a partnership of actually making somebody a client or meeting, it can actually be very detrimental, and you'll start to actually question yourself, man, is this ever going to work out? I'll be lying if I told you I didn't have my days where I didn't think about it. Slightly, just 5%. Even though I wasn't going to quit, I've had thoughts because it's like, how many times am I going to actually revert this business model, pivot it? How many times am I going to come up with a marketing strategy? How many times am I going to say, let's meet to figure out we need to do this or do that, or we need to reach out to these people or that people? But I just think back, I go back to the long term vision and who I'm doing this for. And again, we aren't doing this for ourselves. We are doing this to connect the world and actually make impact. So that's why I won't quit. But I have 5% slightly thought about it, but not actually thought about it like I'm going to do it. But yeah, just being real with you. So
Yeah.
I asked
Yeah.
that question. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, like I feel like those thoughts of self-doubt, I've definitely gotten those self-doubt thoughts too. We spend so much time on our business, and like we didn't see immediate results overnight when we were putting in all that work. And it was okay because we're like, okay, this is over time, it's gonna work out. And then, time goes by, and then we'll have moments with huge celebration, client wins, and we're like, oh my God, this is great. But then there's also times where maybe things are a bit more quiet. But something that kind of always keeps me going is it doesn't take a year to change your life. It doesn't take 10 years to change your life. It takes 1 second. So something can happen in like 1 second and is going to completely change the whole outcome of your life. So even if for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, things are maybe steady, and then one day something can happen, one deal that can happen that is just going to completely change things. And then it's going to lead to so many more things. So, just like, for example, singers, like one day of getting discovered by the right person, or like one day of streaming, of going viral somewhere, can really change someone's life. So I think that kind of keeps me going, and motivated to like do things to get to, new heights.
That's great. I like that. But I asked that question because I just wanted us to provide perspective on for those in the first year, because a lot of people want to quit after just going through the first year of a startup.
Hmm.
What suggestions or what perspective we would like to share with them for them to not actually quit? I'll
Hmm.
start off by just saying, just number one, again, it goes back to what are you doing this for, you know. And if you're doing it for more than just the money and to actually this is your purpose, this is your mission in life, or one of them, then stick with it. And also just understand that not every day is going to be a good day. You're going to have the days where people tell you no. You're going to have the days where you aren't getting response. You're going to have months where you aren't getting response. All of that comes with it. So long story short, just understanding the holistic aspect of being a startup founder and all that comes with it. So that's my suggestions on why you shouldn't quit, because it is rewarding and hard work does pay off.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I would say think about why you want to quit, because maybe you do need to quit. So I would say think about, why do I want to quit? Do you want to quit because it's too hard? If it's because it's too hard, then backtrack. Like, is this actually the path that you want to take on? But sometimes, if you have this strong urge to quit and you feel like it's really not a right fit for you, then maybe that is the right decision to make. But if you want to quit because it's a little bit too hard, or you're not seeing results right away, or having self doubts, then, I'd say to think back about, how much do you really want this? What do you really want out of your life and your direction? Because, as time goes, we change, we evolve, we grow. So see, like, is this something you want to take with you for the long term? Is it something that, you feel like, you're called, quote unquote, to do? Like, you're called to serve in this way through this business. If you feel like you started a business and maybe it's no longer in alignment with who you're becoming, or maybe you don't take interest in that anymore, then yeah, maybe it's better to quit early on than in the long run. But if you really believe in this thing, then I would urge you to take some steps to think about how you can continue forward, and then to some of the points we made that can maybe help support you so you don't feel so much pressure, like keeping your expenses low, really figuring out what your clients want, etc. Like these things can probably help motivate you too, so it doesn't feel like a huge weight on you if you're not succeeding right away.
That's great perspective. What's the number one thing founders need to know in the first year of starting a startup? What's the number one thing
Um
to survive?
I think honestly, like, to also give a positive perspective, number one, I think is it's really exciting. Like, I think it is exciting to start your own business because you have this spark and this fire to like do this thing and to make it happen. So I think, use that spark that you have and put it in your first year to really build a solid business plan. Just like on a lighter note is what I would say. How about you, Jerome? What would you tell founders kind of is the most important thing they need to know in their first year?
Don't let your emotions get the best of you. This is a long game. And in the long game, a lot of times the emotions, again, when you're not seeing positives and the yeses and all of that, your emotions and that self-doubt could creep in, and your emotions to overtake everything, the vision, why you're doing it, what are you doing it for, and you could just shut down the complete business. So I
Yeah.
would say the emotions is the number one thing that everybody that is either looking to start a business or is in their first year of running their startup. Keep your
Mm,
emotions in check or learn how to manage them and don't let them get the best of you. Because a
mm,
lot of times, because of what we see on social media, people blowing up overnight, etc., that's not 90% of the time, that's not the average person reality. So yeah, I would just say that's the number
yeah.
one thing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Jerome. It's like, and I'll add on to that, like keep yourself healthy, both
Yeah.
mentally, physically, because it can really weigh on you. Like, do things daily for yourself too to keep your mind and yourself aligned, because that will also feed into your business. Like you can't pour from an empty cup. So make sure you're filling yourself up too and taking good care of yourself as a founder in your first year of your startup so that you can push through for the following years.
Yeah. How are you now compared to Gigi in year one as being a startup co-founder? How are you? Yeah, how are you?
I would say I think you know like Globally Connected Group has helped me a lot in terms of being able to express my wants, my needs, being able to express myself more. I think it's really helped me do that, especially as we go out there in the market and we talk to people. I think it's helped me with, being confident to express my thoughts and my opinions and communicating with people. So, how's Globally Connected Group like helped you as a person?
In year one, I wasn't as patient as I thought I was. And what I mean by that is I knew this was going to be a long-term game, but my patience really got tested. So that's one thing I've noticed from then and now. Number two, I didn't, hmm, I know how to communicate better and also understand everyone else communication styles and how they work. Everybody works completely different, and that's okay. You just got to communicate how you guys can all work together collectively to make something effective for the bigger outcome of what it is you're trying to achieve.
Mhm.
That's one. And then I think the biggest thing about myself that I've learned from then is that I'm made for this. I ain't even saying that to be cocky or whatever the case may be, but I'm made for this because I did, like I said, 5% self doubt came in, not quitting, but really self doubt and really evaluating this. But when you get past, I say when you get past year one, year two, it's like, man, you really made for it. Cause like everything that comes with just being a startup founder and just being an entrepreneur, it really, like I said, it tests who you are as an individual, collectively and individually. And yeah, man, I'm made for it. Like the no's, like I like being told no because it lets me know I'm doing something right. I'm not doing something wrong. I think people look at no's as you're doing something wrong. It's like, no, you're actually doing something to get closer to what you're actually supposed to be doing. So those are some of the things that I learned from year one up until now.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
You know, for everybody out there, these are things in the first year that you should set in the foundation to begin because these are things that's going to actually catapult you to make it through that first year, the small fundamentals. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, guys. So we hope you enjoyed this episode with us. And as always, take care. Please leave comments of anything that you'd like us to talk about in the future, any feedback that you may have. And we're happy to have you guys here.
Yeah, and please be sure to subscribe because once we get to 50 subscribers, we are going to do something special. And yeah, we have more great episodes on the way. So we hope you guys enjoy. Please share what you learn, comments, etc. And that's a wrap.
Thanks, guys.